The rainy evening in front of the South Tacoma, Washington Goodwill. This used to be a really good value village. I got a lot of good stuff here over the years. I don't know what it's like now that Goodwill has it. Let's take a look. It says to take a picture with the pirates, so here we are. Let's look for books. There's sci-fi and fantasy. Really looking to see if there's anything vintage, though. And so far, I am not having any luck with that. So far, nothing old. I don't know that this has any age, but it's cool print. Little turquoise beads on it. Looks like it has never been used. And it was $21 here. Well, maybe Christmas is where we're going to find something old. Maybe. Certainly don't see anything in the art department. Nor here. Boy, why is it so many of the thrift stores seem to be buying and selling cast sauce from department stores that we saw last year? This place certainly is large. We'll see what the housewares looks like. This is where I used to find a lot of stuff from. That was the other chain that ran it. Board games. Not running into anything that I see that seems particularly old again. And some plushes. Flippered the big red dog. Lots of water toys. I guess summer is officially over. It's cool and rainy. These dolls are all 1990s era reproductions, and they're pretty and nobody buys them. I shouldn't say that. Some of these do sell well online, but it has to be particular ones. And these are not them. This has a retro look, but I have a feeling it's not old. It's very lightweight, and there we go. Yep. Definitely not the quality of an old piece of stoneware. The owl is newish. Okay, there we go. A Wexford decanter. The first old thing I've seen in the whole place. And $8. Those are common enough I wouldn't grab it for that price. $6 on this. This is a vase rather than a pitcher. It looks similar, or related at least, to the Hellenic by Jeanette glass from the late 1960s. These are nice old black amethysts with the Greek key, and they're only $1.99 each, and these date to about 1930. So that might be something we could buy. Black amethyst, but a more basic shape. One thing you will find at Goodwill that's old are these New Martinsville patterns from the 1950s. Nice old candlestick pair for $3, but I've got that pair already. The handkerchief faces are pretty easy to make when they just use thin glass, but I don't see a maker name on the bottom. Those are only interesting if they are actually signed in some manner by a studio, because, again, that's a very easy thing to do with a piece of glass, is to bend it that way. There's a different style of the decanter. I think I like the first one better. Both the same price, though. Let's see here. This looks like it might be Noritake Azalea. Oh, it's a knockoff. Rose China from about the 1950s. Yes, I see the difference now. Much lighter weight and not as good quality. This is cute, but I don't think it's old, and I think it's missing another piece that it sets in. Franciscan apple. These look like English marks. That teal color is definitely the English mark. And they, again, not as good quality as the American pieces that they replace. So, gonna leave those. There's also just not as much contrast between the paint colors as there were in the originals. Stella. I don't think this is old, but the octopus is pretty cool. And he's a red octopus on the back. This has got some vintage, but I have a set of those. 1980s glass stems. I can see where people will start picking these up again. Those are Couroc from France. Not seeing a whole lot of things other than signs seem to be coming into Goodwill in droves as expected. This looks like a lamp base from, again, Home Goods, Target leftovers. Way too much of that in this store. See if the platter is also newer. Yes, indeed. This is Fostoria American, the three-toed piece, and $6 is a good price. Again, I've already got that. I'm just seeing a lot of stuff I already have in stock that isn't going to really help me much. It can definitely happen, especially when you've been thrifting a long time. You're going to see certain basic things that you can sell, and when they sell, you go and you'll find another one. That was a cute fondue set that's missing its other parts. Well, the linens might be our last chance. She was bringing out a cart, but it didn't have anything interesting in it, so I didn't hover over her. Thing I think about when I come in places like these for linens is there anything handmade? This is a little too synthetic for me, but it does look like it was made by hand. And also, are there any things that can be used as table coverings at shows, like a big piece of blue taffeta, for example? Afghan, but I see a lot of filling. Those are not terribly interesting colors for me. Anniversary fox are very touchy, and they become very hard to sell because they're hard to keep running properly. Well, I am thinking that this place is not really going to turn anything up for me, but we'll see on the way towards the front. Suppose I could buy things I actually need. Well, this all looks like dollar store stuff too, so I am out of here. Well, that definitely was not like the old days when it was Value Village, but we'll try to hit some Value Villages because they're usually pretty good around here. So were a lot of the Goodwills, and there were a few things in there that you could buy and sell and make a profit. It's just they're so similar to things I already have. We really didn't score at the Goodwill we went to, but we are in the middle of rush hour, so we're going to try another thrift store. This one is a small place called Helping Hands, and it is in Clearview, Washington, which is between Snohomish and Woodinville, for those of you who know the Northwest. It says half off on all china and dinnerware, all pink tag apparel $1.99, and they're largely home focus. Right away, I see two pieces of furniture at $39.99 each from the 1970s or early 80s. This kind of rattan is popular again now. It's that Golden Girls look. If I didn't already have this set, I'd consider getting it. Waterfall dresser here from the 30s. That's pretty. Little Bing and Grundle butter pats, or small pieces you can hang. The King's Guard. The Frederica, which was a passenger ship. All Danish themes. Some Delft blue here. $5, but it's got a chip. Very 70s looking smoke glass, $4.99. That might be Morgantown. It's certainly got that thinness yet with good quality that made them popular. $4.99 on these. I want them to say Waterford. Noritake Rosamore from the 50s. A pretty pattern with the silver. And this is Savoya. These 50s era Noritake patterns are definitely something that was very popular in their time and good quality. And this is Lorelei. That was a popular pattern because it's very subtle. Silver rims cost more back in the day. Nowadays, they're a sales deterrent because you can't microwave. Here's something interesting. This is a reproduction Nippon, and somebody chipped off the fake Nippon mark. Good for them, because this is not real Nippon. This is from the 1980s. This looks like Noritake Azalea. Now, this does sell because it's all hand-painted, and the red mark from the 1930s, that was their better factory. $17.99 and then half off. That might be worth buying. Newer Barbie nugs and vases. Roaches and pins, $5.49 or $5.99. I see what I think is a JJ with the 5 people, and I like the painted, looks to me like a Russian enamel pin, so we'll take a look at those. Very pretty vintage watch fobs. Masonic, maybe Federation of Elks. I definitely want to see the prices on those. Those could have gold content. Here's a nice micro mosaic, but it needs a pin back, it says. 585, that's an Italian mark for gold. Furniture seems newer, but it's definitely fancy and in good condition. I mean, this place is well put together. Allswrap Jamberry. One of the last American-made pieces. He has to wear in the Navy from the 1980s when it was reintroduced. It is the right season for this. A lot of people are starting to entertain Versatone by Noritake Blue Fleur. But again, if it's transfer and has a silver rim, it's just tough for me to sell. They do have clothing here. I don't see vintage per se then. Victorian silver plate with the monogram. Pretty rose pattern. This one has a hole in it though. Quadruple plate. That tells us 1890s. Another pretty set from that same era. The 2 Ivy lamps are older on the right here. the signature of the original painter. Very popular around 1950. Matlocks did a whole series of Ivy dinnerware, as did Franciscan famously. Well, I covet their lamp, but I at least appreciate the fact that they set it nicely. My eyes have gotten to where I use the phone to look at things. Why I like independent thrift stores. They're doing stuff for a good cause. They're helping people who are coming out of addiction. I got a Noritake azalea bowl with a great shape for under $10 and a Russian enamel pin for $5.99 plus tax. So I paid $16.16 for both of them. That place is 1/5 the size of Goodwill. I found 0 things at Goodwill, and I found 2 things here. The bright lights are drawing us to Value Village. I really enjoy Value Villages. I usually find good stuff at them here in the Northwest. They're called Savers elsewhere. I've had some people tell me they're not good when they're called Savers. I've only been to a few Savers and I did all right, but it all depends on where you are. Here in the Northwest, Value Village is a good place to find antiques and vintage and thrift stores, so let's see what this one in Woodinville, Washington is like. Now, Value Village is a for-profit organization, but they donate a little portion to Northwest Center. One thing I appreciate about them is they still have a jewelry counter. I see a lot of just basic chains and contemporary jewelry, but there is the chance of finding something vintage in all this. These old tie bars definitely have some age. I'm not finding that tie bars are selling very well these days, though, because not very many people wear ties anymore. But the great thing is they don't put all this stuff online, so you have a chance of finding something good in their location. And I think we're going to take a look at the art wall because it just seems very bright today. I believe this is a pre-explosion photograph of Mount St. Helens reflected in Spirit Lake. It was a beautiful, almost perfectly conically shaped mountain until it exploded. Van Gogh's irises, obviously not the original. Disney from The Lion King. Marvel superheroes. Ansel Adams' mural project from the 40s, but this is a later printing, of course. This has some age and a nice frame. Tile signed Alicia. This looks like something out of the 1980s or 90s. This looks like somebody trying to look like R.C. Gorman. Definitely a early 90s matting where they would do the cut work and designs in the edges. It's a neat idea. It's just unfortunately the double mats, if your climate control isn't perfect, they do this and they warp out. A very bored looking board of directors. This was a well-known Northwest artist named Jody Bergsma. There's the signature. 1997, very popular in that time period. I feel like these will be collectible, although she did make a lot of prints that you'll see in this area, but she was originally from Bellingham and grew up in an airplane hangar. A small Bergsma print here. A couple of cute 70s prints here. These are Al Watson prints, actually dated 1966, it appears. I believe Al Watson actually used torn paper to make these collages, and then they were turned into prints, so that's why they have a little bit of shadow and 3-dimension to them. Here's another one with the elephant doffing its hat. What's it hiding under its hat? There seems like there's a bigger story to these. And the pink elephant has gotten its attention. This might be fun in a bar. Oh, a friend of mine has this print in her house. Actually, Becky, who runs Tower Avenue Antiques, have it. It shows the Fremont statue, which people love to dress up in Seattle. And it has a Steinbeck quote about, "I lived in a place with a good climate and it bored the hell out of me," from Travels with Charlie. A 1980s limited edition with the Kuma by Debbie Doble. Actually, they call them cougars in this part of the country. So there's actually a lot of limited editions. This is interesting where the print appears to spill out of its margins. If you're having fun too, please click the thumbs up button if you are subscribed. If you're not subscribed, please do that now because it's free, and that way we can let you know about our future videos. Well, this says collectibles. Let's see how right they are. This is from the early 1900s. Nice shape for a dresser tray. Warwick china, that was out of the United States, Ohio, as a matter of fact. I get questions about pots of this era. This seems like it's pretty good quality. And it has a signature. Big A is a surname you see a lot in the tribes of New Mexico and Arizona. This one's priced at $24.99. It likely costs a lot more than that new. It's more substantial and not as lightweight as the basic tourist wear or the cheap stuff they sold at Levitt's Furniture back in the 1980s when Santa Fe style became popular. This one's a little older too, 1972. It's not worth the high values of earlier pieces, but it definitely has a collector following. Cluedo the Pup is made in Taiwan, 1980s, when things started to move offshore. Collector plates. This is Edna Heibel, who is a very good artist, and her art pieces sell for good money, but collector plates just don't. Knowles China, unfortunately, in the 1980s, bamboozled everybody by playing endless commercials saying that they had a collector market and an aftermarket, and you were going to make lots of money by investing in collector plates at $30 a pop. They were not telling the truth. This one is nicely hand-painted on a Nippon blank from about 1920. This is a Francoma ashtray, an unusual double ashtray, a large one for them, from about 1970. Marquee Angel by Waterford. I already have the Christmas tree for sale. I think that's enough for me. Southern Pacific built-in transistor radio desktop model. Now that's kind of fun. This is one of these things that was sold to older fellows who liked old railroad stuff. But this was with the official Southern Pacific logo from the time. It's never been out of the box. That's probably a good deal. This model hasn't sold online anytime recently, but I see things I think are similar that sell for about $20. So I think I might go get a cart and pick that up. Mexican tiles, a little more expensive than I want to pay. This looks like Francoma in the later years. Seal of the Cherokees, that's pretty cool. You see the Cherokee alphabet mainly. Here's a Charlton decorated Westmoreland grape jar. With all the interest being up for Charlton decorated Fenton, I could see buying this, except that they are pretty close to my retail price on this. So not everything is a bargain here, but at least we are seeing some actual antique and vintage stuff put aside where people like us have a chance to at least look at it. And if it lasts too long, well, eventually they'll mark it down. Wood art by the family. Handcrafted, all natural from Hawaii. I have to admit that's really cool. I don't think it's $50 cool. Mexican ceramics like this, I watched people buy these at the antique mall in Snohomish today. They're only asking $4.99 for that set. It's a little different shape than things I have. I might pick that up too. On a scrapbook. You know, it's fun in a thrift store to at least get to see some stuff that's neat and has a little bit of age. Sleepy Bear from Travelodge. That's funny. They had a bear theme going on, a dog theme going on, a cat theme going on. I see what they're doing here. A chimp theme. A horse theme. I don't see anything that is worth a lot of money that I need to try to get out of here. Boynton cat is kind of cute. Lots of fun looking stuff. This looks like 1970s, 80s vintage, and I see a 1989 date on the Snoopy card. We'll keep on going down the aisle here. The famous Jack and this guy, this is made in China. It's based on 1970s stuff you would see sitting on shelves on the Bob Newhart show, for example. Parma Madonna. This one made in Japan in the 1960s. Hopefully she won't be mad that I set her next to the Buddha. These look like Sirocco wood figures from the 1930s. I've actually had some luck selling the musicians, and $5 a piece is a pretty good price. Now, you have to look for condition on these because it is molded compressed wood chips, and that one's got a chip. This one's missing the end of his instrument. This one's got a little bit of a rough face, so maybe those aren't for me, but they're certainly priced right. Faces in many colors, but I don't see anything that's not newish. Ceramics. This has a nice crystalline glaze, but I think from the shape that it's pretty new. It's certainly heavy. Yes, made in China. They are copying the crystalline glazes done on pottery made in New York back in the 1950s. McCoy, but they want $27.49. I have to say, so far, the prices on some of the vintage stuff are pretty up there because that's retail to me. If you live near this store, the trick is to keep coming back until they mark down that price or give some sort of a discount, and then you pick it up. A little bit of false graph here. This is Vernon's fruit ale. This was made in the 1940s to help replace the English china of a similar look that was not available at that time. Somebody had it in an antique mall at Country Village. That was a great antique mall that is no longer there. They paid $16.50. They only want $5.99 for it here. That's a good price. With dinnerware patterns, it's easy to become inundated. So unless there's a full set, I'm mainly looking for serving pieces. I think I'll take that. This is an older piece down here too. This looks like it's Homer Laughlin. Nice fruit pattern. And yes, that's part of their kitchen craft. You see the HLC mark at the top there that looks like fleur-de-lis from about 1940. Kitchen craft used some Fiesta style blanks as well, but it always had some sort of a floral or fruit or a more elaborate pattern on it. Up here, could this be Treasure Craft, or is this the knockoff that they did? Treasure Craft had a line like this in the mid-80s, and it was quickly aped by a lot of overseas companies, including Mount Clemens Pottery, which had moved to Japan for its production by then. This is from the 1970s or 80s. $9 is not a terrible price. Here's a nice piece of Blue Ridge in the apple pattern for only $4. Again, this is somebody's leftover stock. They were asking $25 in the store for this. $4 is an awfully good deal. Franciscan Ivy. The teapot, they're asking $30. That's not unreasonable. This is a 1950 era piece. Franciscan Ivy was the pattern on I Love Lucy, of course. And this one is $20 for this gravy boat. But I think my Vernon is the best deal of all so far. The very plain, straightforward, but neatly square-shaped 1930s Japanese lusterware teapot for $15. Homer Laughlin Cafe ware. I'm not sure which restaurant had the crab. That mark is later, probably 1990s or so. Very heavy and substantial. Microwavable lead fruit. A big imperial candlewick torte plate for only $5.99. See, again, look how much more stuff Value Village has to offer than Goodwill. And we've only been down a few aisles. This is Fire King. It's the Philby pattern. Only $3.49. That's out of the 1950s. Looking quickly to see the wood here. Once in a while, you'll see something by Dansk or something that's hand-carved and interesting. Most of this today looks like it's more contemporary. This is a newer than Sorrento Italian box. I always do a quick glance in the silver plate to make sure that maybe a piece of sterling didn't sift through, because that happens here. But these all have the shininess of silver plate. And there's the bags and bags and bags. I see people, other YouTubers, finding great things in these bags. I have yet to have that experience. Maybe today is a day. But just going to try to be gradual and yet scan these things quickly, because there's a lot of store left. My hope is by the time I'm done with all of this shopping, that the roads will be clear and I'll be able to drive straight home. And the amount of time I would have spent in traffic is spent here finding things that I can buy and flip for a profit, make a collector happy, and have something fun to show all of you. This is relatively recent. The bubbles are not well controlled, but I definitely look at those sorts of things. If they had a bunch of them and they were better quality, there might be something. This is a Franciscan go along with a few of its 1970s patterns. On this, old Demitasse cup and saucer is a cutie here, and this one is Royal Dalton. Grantham pattern is a pattern that some people do collect, and it's $5.99. A fair price, but not a bargain price. These are supposed to look like old airbrush cafe ware, but they are a more recent addition. Big Sky Fly Fishing, Thomas Norby original designs. I do like the design. It's not clear to me where those are made. Here's some more of it here. Definitely looks like Montana. The bullfinch pattern by Wedgwood and Wellesley design. Those are cute cream soup bowls. I bet the liners, meaning the things they sit on underneath, are sitting here somewhere else priced separately because they say ×2. Bakeware. Well, let's see if there might be some sort of interesting pattern. I think this is glass bake here with the funky vegetables out of the 70s. Oh no, these are made in England. Huh. I had not seen this before. Cute little striped Pyrex bowl. Little later logo you can see with the lowercase writing. And there is Treasure Craft House. A very collectible line. This was done with a hand-printed ink stamp. It feels like there's 2 of them in there. The big one has a chip. The other one, $7.49, is actually a pretty decent price. There are people still matching this pattern today. It was one of their more popular dinnerware lines in the 1980s. General kitchenware. I don't see anything that looks particularly old. Kigonia. That's just silly. Someone had fun with that. Houghton of Union, Oregon. I had not heard of that studio before, but that's certainly cute enough for somebody to hang on to. Pyramid of Success. This is amongst the cutting boards, but I'm thinking this is actually a game, perhaps, because it's wedge-shaped. Paternity testing. What, me? I wasn't even at the party. Yeah, I don't think this is a cutting board. And yet you open it up and I'll be darned if it isn't a cheese holder. That is peculiar. More bags. I like they actually say what's in the bag and they have these divided up. So, you know, if you're looking for kitchen or personal care, that's where you look. Clocks don't appear to be old. I think we'll turn our back to the electric appliances and look into cookware just to see if maybe a cast iron piece or some interestingly printed, more interestingly than this 1980s piece. I was thinking like 70s paisley or something, but some printed cookware might have come in, but I don't see any today. A little bit of small furniture. It's nice because, again, Value Village has all the categories. Things that some Goodwills aren't carrying anymore, well, you can find them at a Value Village. These little buckets were something you would see in the 1960s, usually as an ice bucket. It would have had a lid that could have been used as a tabletop, so that is not complete. The big floor vase does not appear to be old. Neither does the globe. It's from 2000. This has some age, but these are a tough sell. They have $100 on it. Now that you can buy something portable that does the same thing, they're not so easy to move. Wow, they have some stuff to put out. It's one of those anchor hawking floor vases from the 80s in a rather bland color. Of course, they have a vast selection of clothing here, which I don't really have the energy to go through today. Another Disney-related character. At some point, that'll be collectible and vintage. It might be collectible now. It's not vintage now, though. We'll head back to the toy section just in case I see a Yoda plush, some Mickeys and Minnies, a bunch of toys. Nothing like those wonderful metal toys we almost got and were just a second too late for at that thrift store in Ohio, though. More bags. These are the action and toy figure bags. Some of these newer toys are definitely starting to be things that generations who lost them and have now grown up are looking for. But I don't recognize any of these as being important. Reduce, reuse, repeat. Agreed. And we really want to thank all of you who have repeated your memberships with us. It really helps the channel. All the extra support with the expense of running around and doing this and showing you all this great stuff. It really is helpful, and we're so appreciative of all of our members. If you're not a member and you're interested in supporting the channel, well, you can check out the membership information by going to the membership link under the dash line in the description of any video. The book section. Well, let's see if we can find anything that is vintage here, especially because if you buy 4, you get the 5th one for free. Tells you in many languages. I can't believe my dog did that next to Cat Miracles. The real bargain here is probably art books, particularly from the Metropolitan Museum. This is a very big, heavy tome. You can learn a ton from these, and they do have a good resale potential if they're a big old one like this, and this is only $5. This particular one only sells for about $15, but you can sometimes find some that are rather valuable or that are just interesting to you. This one is great because it talks all about fruit crate art. It's only $3. It's going to show you all of these great old fruit labels, and they just show all these really beautiful graphics. And of course, a lot of these are still available for just a few dollars each. They're great to frame, fun in the kitchen. Great graphics. They would overproduce each year because they were never sure how big the crop was going to be. So there would be extras in warehouses, and a lot of them have come out onto the market since. This one is a famous one from the 1909 Alaska Yukon Pacific Exposition in Seattle. And yes, we were back in an era where racial depictions were not necessarily completely equitable. Well, my last job is to find an appropriate shade for that great owl lamp that I put at Lander Street Vintage for sale. I see things that I like. I really would like a drum shape for that. And I'm thinking this one on the end here might be the closest. And it's only $6. So I think we might give that a chance. Well, we sure are thrifting proud, and I'm so proud to have you with me. Thank you so much for coming along. I found some good things at Value Village. I found some good things at the little thrift store. Didn't find much at the Goodwill, but you know what? You just keep trying until you do.
If you enjoyed this video, check out this one. Also, click thumbs up to like this video and check the description for information about our Patreon, our memberships. We've got a lot of different levels with different perks and bonus videos and early content. Also, please do check out our website, theantiquenomad.com, for appraisal help. And we'll see you again for more adventures in the antique and vintage community soon. Bye for now.